Welcome to Hybrid, powered by chinkseyMEDIA. Once again, we are back again for Mikel Arteta's press conference. Tune in for every word from Arteta's pre-Manchester City presser. Mikel Arteta's pre-Manchester City press conference. Arteta has been speaking to the press at the Sober Realty Centre ahead of our contest against Manchester City at the Emirates Stadium this Sunday. The boss answered questions on the fitness of our players, our opponents, and much more. Right, here goes. On if we're in a good place, yes, we've had two very important wins, very good feeling about the games as well, and we're preparing for a big match on Sunday. So obviously, Mikel Arteta is referring to our two victories in recent days against Nottingham Forest and Athletic Club, respectively, where we managed to notch 5 goals unanswered. So we're on a roll. We've hit back well after that Liverpool result. Looking good, players on form. A lot of competition for places. And yeah, willing and raring to go against arch rivals Manchester City. On if there's a chance Ben White, Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard may be fit. If there is a chance, it will be after tomorrow's session because they haven't done anything yet. So we'll have more information tomorrow. Yeah, Mikel loves doing that where obviously invariably the press conferences are on a Friday and that's always before the last training session before a match. So in other words, he probably has an idea or an inkling whether they're going to be fit, but he's not going to give the opponent an inkling. Right. On if Mikel Merino and Victor Gyökeres are okay after head injuries in midweek. Yes, they'll be fine. Okay. Nothing more to add to that. On if William Saliba will come back into the starting lineup. Let's see. Obviously, he's been carrying an injury. He's done really well to be available for the last match, and he's really pushing it. So we will decide tomorrow who is the best to start. Yeah, this is an interesting one. Obviously, you've got Christian Mosquera, who's come in, done really well. In pre-season, I saw him firsthand. He looked amazing. Once again, I reiterate, I think he reminds me of a young Antonio Rudiger. Very aggressive, very athletic, very strong, you know. Dovetails well with Gabriel, young player. But what I think will happen is Saliba will come straight back in, slot alongside his compadre, Gabriel Magalhaes, against obviously their arch nemesis, Erling Haaland. And then what I think will happen is Mosquera will come back for Port Vale. On whether our boardroom changes will impact him, no. There have been quite a lot of changes since I arrived at the club. First of all, obviously, Tim Lewis is leaving, and I would like to say a few words because he's been someone that I've really enjoyed working with. I think he has made a tremendous contribution to everything we've done over the last few years. Then on Richard Garlick, congratulations. It's a massive role to be the CEO of this football club. And then welcome to the new members of the board. Hopefully they're going to make us better and help us with ideas and support for this club. It's ultimately Stan and Joss's decision. They've been incredibly supportive. So we move on again. I mean, I don't want to dwell too much on boardroom changes and, upgrades and whatnot. But what I will say is there seems to be a kind of changing of the guard in terms of the boardroom. Obviously, Edu's recently left. Andrea Berta's come in, done magnificently in bringing in 8 top-class players, which has contributed in us having a supremely, fiercely competitive squad right now. And I think that is the reason we won our last 2 games with consummate ease. One thing I will say, though, is I don't know too much about Tim Lewis. I'm not going to pretend I do, or Richard Garlick. But yeah, we'll move on from that. On how significant this match is in terms of the title race. It's about winning again and creating another good moment for us. The consistency, competing against one of the best teams in the world, and a good test for us to see our level. Well, what I will say about this game is I feel like this is the first time in probably a decade or so where we go into a game against Manchester City as overwhelming favourites, and rightly so. I feel like we're a level above them right now. They're in a kind of transition period, but that's not to say they can't turn up and win that game. We've got to be at our best, and I feel if we are our best, we will win. I expect us to win 99 to 100% of games if we're at our best. But Man City will be a good test of our, they will test us for sure. But, it's just about us, really. It's just about us. I think if we can get our players playing at their optimum level, I should expect to win that game. But it should be a really competitive, intriguing matchup between us. On Pep Guardiola, the demands that he has put first on himself, the standards that he requires from everybody around him, his will to win, to evolve, to improve. You look around him always. He wants to learn about the best people. For me, he's the best coach in the world. I've said it. I had the pleasure to work with him and win a lot with him next to him. It's always great to see him back. Well, I mean, with Pep and Guardiola, it's a really awkward one because obviously these two are close mates. I mean, close in a sense that they text most days, if not every day. So when they're coming up against each other, it's a bit like you're coming up against one of your family members or your brother or something. But, they're both really competitive. I think Arteta's got that inner drive in him to kind of supersede and overcome his quote-unquote big brother. And now I think Arteta's confident that he's got Pep's number. Obviously, in the last few years, that's proven to be the case. On Noni Madueke, I was sure that he was a player with a talent and quality that we didn't have in the squad. A player with a level of threat and great ability that was going to make us better. The moment I picked up the phone, I spoke to him, his dad and his agent, and the three of them gave me the impression that they were really willing to come. And they saw something special here that they wanted to be a part of. Then you have to come here, and slowly they start to get to know him, and he starts to get to understand the team. I think so far the impact he's had on the team is very, very positive. Yeah, I mean, I tend to speak about Noni a lot. I did say from pre-season, before he actually put on an Arsenal shirt, that he was a player with the qualities we need. And obviously Arteta has literally said that. And what he's referring to is his directness, his skill, his ability to twist up a fullback, tie a fullback in knots. That is an uncanny characteristic to have. And he is probably not even arguably, the best 1v1 winger in terms of beating the fullback in the league. I remember a quote from Noni referring to him and Cole Palmer as, "I'm the fire, he's the cold," kind of thing. Because they played with each other since 15. So obviously Noni would be the winger, Cole Palmer will be next to him behind the forward in a number 10 position. So Noni's kind of, got different qualities to Cole Palmer, but they kind of dovetailed really well together. Hopefully Noni can build that kind of similar rapport with people like Eze or Odegaard. I don't know how that works with Saka, but for now, Noni has been amazing. He's managed to implement his strengths, and long live Noni. Long may it continue. On how Martin Zubimendi has settled in, it's another one. Coming from abroad, it's always very tricky, especially with the demands in this league and in that particular position, because you have so much responsibility in that role and you have to be aware of everything that we do. He's such an intelligent boy. He has a lot of presence, a lot of quality and a lot of courage to play football. Yeah, Martin Zubimendi's announced himself at the Premier League level with 2 goals last week. But But yeah, all in all, he's had a great start to the season, his Arsenal career. And I'm sure it helps to have his Spanish international teammate and good friend, Mikel Merino, right next to him. Also, to add to that, the composition of that midfield has a number of permutations that could be utilised, because you've probably got 3 from 4 or 5. Christian Norgaard's, back in the fray. So it'll be interesting to see if Max Staumann continues to get onto the bench, which is a remarkable feat. But yeah, nonetheless. But it'll be interesting to see if he opts with Merino now that Declan Rice is fit, or with the fact that Odegaard is injured, that might make his Arteta's selection dilemma slightly easier, because he could just go Rice, Zubimendi and Merino, or he could slot Eze in. So there's a number of permutations that he could use. So the question is, does Merino start? And if the answer is no, then you can kind of shift things around. I think that's the key, really. Does Mikel Merino continue in the starting lineup? I think if Odegaard is fit, he may not even play. He could go Nwaneri, he could bring Eze in, but personally, no, I think he will stick with Merino, if I'm being real. I think he'll go Rice, Zubimendi, Merino. On why Christian Mosquera has been so solid. First of all, he's very good. I think credit to the scouting department and Andrea Berta that they presented the opportunity to have him. Again, as a boy, he's extremely focused, very determined, very clear that he wanted to come here, and he wanted to come here and play and earn his place. I think what he's doing in that position so early is very impressive. So Arteta's alluded to the fact that Andrea Berta's played and had a heavy-handed role in bringing in Mosquera. So obviously Berta was formerly of Atletico Madrid, so he would have known of the player, seen him at close quarters, and had first-hand kind of knowledge of him. So for him to be brought to the club and to be excelling so early, so young, props to him. Kudos to Berta for that. But Mosquera, it'll be interesting to see how long how long it takes for him to kind of find his way into the first team on a more regular basis, considering he can play in 2 positions, battling with Jurriën Timber and William Saliba. But I think there's enough games to rotate in and around, especially for playing twice a week for the foreseeable future. On Ben White, Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard's fitness, everything has been modified so far for them. There are still a few things to clear, and tomorrow we'll have more information on whether they are part of the squad or if they have a chance to be part of the squad. Interesting. I mean, with Ben White, our defence is so strong that if he isn't on the bench, we're not going to miss him per se. And that's no slight on Ben White, but it's just the fact that, like I alluded to already, the competition and quality is high. We got Mosquera really, really staking a claim to start that game, but I don't think he will. I think the seniority and experience of Saliba would mean that not yet for Mosquera. However, with Ben White, yeah, I personally think he will probably miss out on the squad and play against Port Vale next week. As for Bukayo Saka, the form of Noni Madueke means we don't have to rush him back. So I think with Saka, it's probably bench at best. And also with that one, I'm going to stick my neck out and say I don't think Saka will be in the squad. But potentially, I think he might be on the bench at Port Vale. Whereas with Martin Odegaard, I don't think Odegaard starts that game. The question is whether he'll be on the bench. And I'm going to go for no on that. These are all predictions. On what type of game he is expecting on Sunday. There will be moments, it has been in the past as well, in the last few years, They have changed quite a bit, especially in the back line, and they recruited Erling Haaland as well. We've modified a few things because of the quality of the midfield, which is normal. And there is a tendency in football, especially because of the way teams are defending, but it has certain implications for how teams react to them. So obviously Arteta's alluded to the fact that Manchester City's defence has changed a lot. He obviously didn't mention that it's changed for the worse, but it's clear that Manchester City have a clear vulnerability in their defence, especially in counter-attacks. However, I don't think we'll be counter-attacking. I think we're going to take the game to Man City. It's just a question of whether they reciprocate that game plan and take the game to us, or kind of sit back and give us respect, considering the fact that we thumped them 5-1 last season. But yeah, it's a game that I expect Arsenal to kind of be confident in winning, especially given how we've performed so far this season. We look like we're kind of getting into our groove a bit. We've conceded only one goal, which was a worldie of a free kick all season. Well, it'll be interesting to see if we can keep a clean sheet on Sunday. Personally, I think it will be 3-1. So, well, I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet, but I hope we do. On the impact of subs, you look historically at the top team, the team that has won a lot, the impact that the finishers had has always been really, really high. You need that quality nowadays to unlock games, and to be consistent every 3 days is even harder, and that's what we need. We are very lucky because we have players who can make an impact. They certainly did that the other day, and now we need consistency. So it's interesting that Arteta's referred to substitutes as finishers, which kind of gives them more of a purpose, you know, gives them respect, gives them more confidence. So in terms of finisher, we had a good finish from Martinelli, which is a double entendre because, yeah, he was a substitute who finished the game and he finished well with his strike. So Martinelli's kind of come back to life now. I'm sure a few more good performances from him would bring him back into the reckoning of actually battling for a first team spot with the likes of Eze as well. But Port Vale was there too. But the thing is, I keep mentioning Port Vale, but the players that would like or would need to start that game, there's only 11 spots. People like Miles Lewis-Skelly, Trossard, Martinelli, Ben White, you know, Hincapié, they all need games, even Kepa. So be interested. You know, actually, what is more intriguing is who he starts in that Port Vale game. I'm sure we got an idea, but then there'll be one or two that wouldn't have played in the league much and wouldn't have started that game, and it'll be like, ooh, the squad is quite big. Will certain players like not featuring much, let alone even in the cup competition? Well, that's a debate and a discussion for another time. On whether he talks to the subs before the game, we already had that discussion in pre-season about the goals and responsibilities and about the implications of each goal in relation to the game, the scenario, the schedule, a lot of factors, but the quality and the delivery and the intensity and the will that you have to put into every minute for this football club, that's unquestionable whether you're starting or not. So it sounds like Arteta's kind of sat down with the squad and said, right, we're going to have around 60 games. We're going to have a big squad. We're going to do a lot of rotation. There's an emphasis on, in certain games, we're going to need the substitutes to make an impact. So if you're on the bench, you have an opportunity to make an impact, to win points. The substitutes are the ones that make the difference makers. So that gives every player in the squad purpose, motivation and confidence that they can actually come on, make an impact, and then give themselves a chance of starting the next game or the game after that. On whether Pep is rebuilding Manchester City, I don't know. That's a question for him. But obviously what he's already done in this league is unprecedented. The level that he's put into the standard of the league is, in my opinion, unprecedented. And maintaining those levels for 10 years is already something incredible. And the demands are there for him. And he wants to carry on because he believes that he can do it again. Unprecedented, interesting. So it's almost like a slight on Alex Ferguson, because Alex Ferguson's got more league titles than Pep, over a longer period, of course. But, well, Pep's got his work cut out trying to topple both Liverpool and Arsenal, let alone Chelsea. So, obviously, it's clear that Man City are in transition. They've already lost 2 games in the league this season. However, if they can beat Arsenal, then that would really, really put them in the race and give them confidence to kind of get themselves back on track with a 3rd win in succession after they beat Napoli in midweek. Or yesterday, should I say. On trying to go 5 games unbeaten against Pep, the preparation for the game will be to win. That's for sure. To be honest, I don't think Pep would like the fact that Arteta's gone 5 games unbeaten or 4 games unbeaten against him. He will be plotting away to beat Arsenal. But it's a far cry from the times that we would lose home and away to Man City consecutively for about 7-8 years. There was a period we lost 14, 15, 16 times in a row against Man City. And I don't think any club in history has ever done that to us. So that's what we had to overcome in recent years. On us opening a mental health drop-in on match days. First of all, very proud that the club again takes initiative and takes a serious problem that is out there in our society, and gets practical solutions, and to create a safe space as well for our supporters and be able to raise their hands and say, I need help, and this is the space to do it. I think this is incredible, and hopefully more people can do the same, because there's a big need for that. I didn't know about this, actually. So Arsenal opening a mental health drop-in. I know about 2 weeks ago, an Arsenal fan from the Midlands, I think Wolverhampton, obviously sadly passed away from mental health. So I reckon that's probably had something to do with the club's decision to start this initiative. But yeah, while I'm here, I want to just use this moment to pay my respects and condolences to Ricky Hatton, who sadly passed away last Sunday. He was I was a big fan of his growing up. One fight of his that stood out to me was his victory against Costa Azul, but the one that stood out to me was the Mayweather fight, classic. He always had a big following, like a proper people's man, nice guy, down to earth, humble. All the comments have said it, sums it up really, what kind of person he was. So I just want to pay homage to Ricky Hatton now that we're on this mental health segment of this interview. On how aware he was that Tim Lewis would be leaving. I was aware in certain moments. I had various discussions with Josh Kroenke especially, and with the team. It's not the first time that it's happened since I've been here. Again, incredible gratitude towards Tim, what he's done for the club and what he's done for the team, and myself personally as well. Everybody's in different phases of their lives and requires different things. Interesting. The last sentence of that is very interesting. Everyone's in different phases of their lives and requires different things. Well, I think his next destination would be interesting. So we'll find out what Arteta's alluding to, depending on where he goes. On what it means for the future. Wonderful future. That's the only thing that I can say. I'm so positive about it, and every time I speak to Stan and Josh and how willing they are, the projection they have, the vision they have for the football club, the people that we have around it, there's no question that big things ahead. Well, I mean, they said unprecedented summer before the summer, And boy, did we have an unprecedented summer. We brought in 8 quality signings. We've started the season in a good way. I feel like we're starting to kind of get into our groove. Well, we can only confirm that with a win against Man City before we go to our bogey ground, Newcastle. So I think the next few games will really kind of see where we're at. But yeah, we've had a good solid start to the season, and we're looking poised to challenge for this league once again. On the changes at executive level since he's been manager, it's my first managerial job, so I don't know if that's a lot or very little. The experience that I've had, what I can say is I've been very lucky to work with some wonderful people that I've learnt so much from. It's sad because we spend so much time together. Very important people that will be part of the football club, of my life as well, personally, because you get really attached to them emotionally as well, and their families. You have to move on. Maintain that personal relationship for sure. People have gone on to do various jobs. Some of them have been very successful in other places, and wish them all the best. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk about this board level changes and whatnot, but I don't really want to go too much into that. On whether he wants to harness the positive feeling from Martinelli and Trossard. Yes, it certainly does, because when players are in that state, I think they have to be used and they have to be recognised. There's a lot of players in a really good moment performing really well, and that's what we want. Whenever we need them, I'm sure they'll be at their best. Yeah, I mean, the type of character that Leandro Trossard is, he wouldn't be happy being on the bench, let alone coming off the bench and then scoring, and then the next game being on the bench again, because Trossard is not going to start against Man City. However, I do think Trossard will start against Port Vale as the centre forward with Martinelli on the left wing. And then, so yeah, that just means that someone's going to be disappointed, like I mentioned earlier. But yeah, it's good to see players coming off the bench proving a point. All you can do is kind of prove a point with goals and assists and good performances. On facing Haaland, there are a lot of things that you have to get right. He's a player who doesn't need much space, much time or situations to generate big chances, especially in and around the box. Sometimes preventing the source is the best thing to do, and we have to do it again. Well, I mean, whenever Haaland comes up against us, especially Gabriel, he's usually well marshalled by Gabriel and Saliba. When Arteta mentions the source, he's probably talking about the likes of Rodri, Bernardo Silva. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne has left the club. So, but the thing is, the best way to stop the source is for you to have the ball, for us to be pressing them, to be taking centre of the ring, and to be taking the game to Man City. So once all those things happen, we don't have to worry about the source because we have the ball. On if the current defensive quality is the benchmark, it's certainly what we're doing today and what we have to do on Sunday and the following games. There's still a lot of things we can improve, and we're very aware, but it's a very big foundation to achieve what we want. Yeah, I mean, that defence is a strong defence. We've got Ben White, Timber, Mosquera, Saliba, Nkapie, Gabriel, Lewis Skelly and Calafiori, to name but a few. I mean, one player gets injured, the other will slot in, and it helps that and a lot of those players can play in 2 or 3 positions, which shows the versatility and quality of each player in the squad. On whether he wants Eze to be a touchline winger, it depends on the positioning in one space or another. It's never the same. The space and the difficulty of the opponent will be different in what we want and what we want to accomplish with that. Well, I just want to quickly say Eberechi Eze is not a touchline winger. Never has been, never will be. Hasn't got the pace to do it, but he has the quality to play on the wing. To come off the wing, similar to Sami Nasri, what he used to do, kind of being in inside left position kind of thing. He ain't gonna get chalk on his boots like Martinelli or Madueke will get. But what he'll do is he come inside, link up with the number 10 if he isn't playing there, link up with the centre forward, get shots away, be a threat and a thorn in our position side. I think that's how and where you get the best out of Eze. On whether it depends on who the fullback is, yes, depending on where that man is defending, especially if it's our left or right side, maybe the opposite side. If they're attacking between their lines, especially if it's higher or deeper, there's quite a lot of things to consider before we make that decision. So yeah, I mean, I still stick with what I said. Eberechi Eze is not a touchline winger. What you want is to get him away from the touchline, as far away from the touchline as possible. So whether he's dribbling inside, kind of pulling the right back out of position, that's probably what you want him to do, and kind of 1-2s with the number 10 if he isn't there. Yeah, so on Miles Lewis-Skelly's celebration last season, that was done. That's it. That's part of it. There have been a lot of celebrations or non-celebrations in the past from a lot of teams. The experience is to learn and grow as well, and we certainly learned from that. Yeah, I find this subject with Miles Lewis-Skelly, Haaland, their kind of feud, should I say, interesting, because obviously whenever Lewis-Skelly does interviews, I think there's a clear kind of message, or the interviewee has been briefed not to speak about the Haaland situation, clearly, because I've never heard him being asked about it. But what I will say is that celebration just told you all you need to know about the boy's character, and I love it. I love it. On whether City are contenders this season, I think so. Without a doubt, knowing Pep really well and the demands he puts on his players, the mentality they have in this football club, the squad and the players that they have, I think so for sure. But wait a minute, isn't this the same Mikel Arteta that said there's 8 teams that could win the league? So if you're not sure if Man City are one of them, then who are these 8 teams? We know Liverpool and Arsenal are one of them, or 2 of them. So where are the other 6 teams?